My name's Callie, and I'm an innovator in residence with Georgia Tech and Seismic, which means I get to come up with cool STEM projects for y'all. So we are all doing school from home right now, and that means we probably have some different school supplies than normal, but one thing I know everyone has is recyclables. And a recyclable is something you use again in a new way instead of throwing it away. So we're going to be doing a repurposing project with stuff we have at home. And a little phrase I like to think about when I am thinking about being a responsible global citizen, when I'm thinking about, pollution and the climate, it's this phrase, it's reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, just use less paper and plastic if you can. There's really nowhere good for it to go. It ends up in landfills, makes the ocean dirty, it's a bad situation. Number 2 is reuse, and that's what we're doing today. We are repurposing recyclable material to make an art project or science project out of it instead of just letting it go to waste. And number 3 is recycle. If you can't do either of the other two, just wash it off, put it in the recycling, and then it'll get shipped off to be used for something else. So I'm going to show you some things I had at home and some ways I could repurpose what I had at home. And I want you to do your own thing. I want you to take it even further. This is just something to get your wheels turning, and I want you to still use your creativity, your voice, your choice, and make it personal. So one thing I have around the house a lot is LaCroix. You can use a Coke can. Be careful when you use this material because it can cut you, so have a parent around, wear gloves, make sure you stay safe. I cut the top off, and then I cut little slits down the side, arrived at this interesting shape. And from here, you can do a variety of things. The main point is we want to see the things around us with new eyes and a new light. Think it's not just cup, it's not just can, it could be anything. It's building blocks for our imagination. So I looked at the shapes and I thought it reminded me of a lot of shapes in nature. So you could look at different flowers, different sea urchins, just different shapes you see repeated in nature. Think about the shapes around your environment and try to do like a life science art project. That could be good. Another thing I did with this is I bent these guys down and attached string to them to do a hanging installation. So I attached more of these little aluminum LaCroix guys and I made a wind chime. So it doesn't have to be a visual project, it can be an auditory project. You can think about what are different things I could attach to these strings that would make different sounds when they interact. Or you could think about it like a sculpture. You could think I could do fluffy, grocery bags, and that could make this ballooning cloud shape. So there's lots of things you can do with installation like that. That's one way you can work through with gravity, through hanging and wind. That can all be factors in your project. Another thing you could make is a mosaic. So I had this cardboard from my LaCroix, and the thing is you don't need paint to make a painting. You can use the colors that are around us all the time. There's so much printed ink that we have at our fingertips through magazines, through lots of things. So I cut out these pieces, I made a pile of red, pile of yellow, pile of green, and then I made this mosaic, which is kind of like a flower shape, but you can make whatever you'd like that. You just arrange them. Another thing you could do is printmaking. You could use a bottle cap, you could use anything to make an interesting mark, dip it in paint, and then make a design that way. You could make a pattern based on math. There's so many patterns and different kinds of things that emerge visually if you make a visual pattern of what you're learning in math. So there's lots of cool things that can happen there. You could also just recreate something we see in nature. You could do shadow art. So you could get different cardboard, different containers, different kinds of translucent materials or opaque materials, which means you can't see through it. And then arrange it in a way with a flashlight or a lamp, and the shape of the shadow on the wall will be your project. So that could be one way you engineer different things. So there's so many possibilities. I want you to think about all of the things in your house and all the things you throw away in a new light. How could they either be a tool for you to make something, or how could they become something if you take it apart and put it back together in a different way? So I really want you to think about your design thinking process with this. I want you to ideate. That means brainstorm, think of lots of ideas before just going with the first thing you think of. And then design, which means think with your hands, not just with your eyes and your brain. I want you to draw out plans, draw out ideas. I want you to see in a journal how you were thinking about this and how you were making plans. And then you could make a prototype. If you want to make a big project, it might be good to make a small version to see if what you're wanting to do works, because you might realize like, oh, I thought glue would work, but maybe tape would be better, or maybe tying string would be better. So making a prototype, testing it out is always good, but we cannot wait to see what you make. In the meantime, until we're all back at school, wash your hands, stay safe, and get started.